Last page of the book. For most of you, it's 110. But if you have a slightly different edition, it doesn't matter. Just very last page of the book. All right? Okay, so what we're going to do today, a couple things. Number one, we're going to talk about the last page. This is easily one of the most famous endings in American literature, just period. Okay? The last page, no, this is legit. The last page specifically is top 3 all time. Like it's a big deal. Okay?
Is it one of your top 3 or is it just?
It's beautiful, and it's the scope is crazy. We'll talk about it. What was the other thing I was going to tell you? If in any way, shape, or form you feel at a loss in this moment as to how to start your project, the ending is a really helpful place to think about major themes that are in the book, perhaps in a totally different way from how we've talked about it up to now. Okay? All right. You guys good back there? Yeah. All right, so here's what we got to do. Last page, again, 110 if you're this copy. I'm going to start at most of the big shore places. You guys see that? And we're only going to do it once, but I'm going to read this at you. Here we go. Wait. Sorry. Context. This is after everything, obviously. It's the last page. Nick has fast forwarded. I think it's 2 years when he's in Chicago. He won't shake Tom's hand, right? Because he's disgusted with them and everything they represent. But in this moment, he flashes back. It's the very end of that summer. He's leaving now. Like he's moving away. But before he does that, Braden, he wants to go to Gatsby's house.
Wait, did he move to Chicago?
He ends up going back to Chicago. That's where he's from. That's where they're all from. He wants to go to Gatsby's house one more time. Why do you think he does that? Because Gatsby clearly is not there, right? Why go to Gatsby's house?
To play homage. Gatsby?
It's a little bit of that, yeah. I mean, it's closure, right? It's to say goodbye to the place and to the guy and all that, right? Okay. So that is our context. He goes out behind the house. He's looking across the water. And this is what we get. Most of the big shore places were closed now, and there were hardly any lights except the shadowy moving glow of a ferry boat across the sound. And as the moon rose higher, the inessential houses began to melt away until gradually I became aware of the old island here that flowered once for Dutch sailors' eyes, a fresh green breast of the New World. Its vanished trees, the trees that had made way for Gatsby's house, had once pandered in whispers to the last and greatest of all human dreams. For a transitory, enchanted moment, man must have held his breath in the presence of this continent, compelled into an aesthetic contemplation he neither understood nor desired, Ion, face to face for the last time in history with something commensurate to his capacity for wonder. And as I sat there brooding on the old unknown world, I thought of Gatsby's wonder when he first picked out the green light at the end of Daisy's dock. He had come a long way to this blue lawn, and his dream must have seemed so close that he could hardly fail to grasp it. He did not know that it was already behind him, somewhere back in that vast obscurity beyond the city, where the dark fields of the Republic rolled on under the night. Gatsby believed in the green light, the orgiastic future that year by year recedes before us. It eluded us then, but that's no matter. Tomorrow we will run faster, stretch out our arms further, and one fine morning... So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. All right, here's what we're going to do now. We're just going to try to figure out, for now, what is even going on here. Some of this is kind of fancy. You know, this is easily his most poetic passage probably in the book. To begin with, again, he's out back of Gatsby's house and he's looking over the water. Most of the big shore places were closed now. What is big shore places? What does that mean to you? What's he talking about?
Other houses.
Yes.
Because he's on what, New Egg?
Well, he's on like West Egg, which is the new money.
Yeah, West Egg.
West Egg and East Egg.
And West Egg and East Egg are like separated
by a sound. Stretch of water. Yeah.
Long Island Sound?
Most likely. Anyway, so these big shore places are closed. What does he mean by that? These houses are
They're
closed.
not active.
Like all the lights are off.
Yes.
It's like,
Why do you think? But closed is a weird word. Like, what do you think is happening? What is he telling you about these houses?
Moving out.
Why? Why?
It's kind of like Gatsby
Because
with
Gatsby's
a
not there
switch.
anymore.
Nah, they don't care about Gatsby. They never cared about Gatsby. He didn't matter. They'll go to some other party. Why are all these people leaving? It's the end of summer.
Oh, they're going back to their regular house.
These are their summer homes. They don't even live here.
I feel they don't care.
Huh?
I said that's low-key crazy.
Like baby's big fancy nice houses.
Yeah, they live in like probably like Missouri in like a 6-foot man.
I mean, these are 6 foot mansion. Hey, man.
6-story.
Really nice house you have. Anyway, so the Big Shore places, they're closed up now. That basically means, for all intents and purposes, Nick is alone out here. He sees the ferry boat, but other than that, he's pretty much alone. And night's coming on because you got the moon. So he says that the inessential houses begin to melt away. That's one of those moments. I feel like, Braden, you should close your laptop. Thanks. That's one of those moments. That's a weird adjective for a house. Inessential means not necessary, right? Why do you think they're not necessary, these houses? Good. I'm wondering, supposing there could be another reason, only because that is such an odd adjective, but that one is definitely there. Okay. Anyway, so the inessential houses are melting away, not literally, of course, but like, again, you understand how light works. You can't see them very well. Gradually, he becomes aware of the old island here that flowered once for Dutch sailors' eyes, a fresh green breast of the new world. What on earth? Dutch sailors' eyes. What is he talking about? Not quite.
Pilgrims were Dutch?
Nope.
It's like new Dutch.
Actually, Dutch kicked the pilgrims out.
Oh, how do you know this?
There's like there's a place, they named part of it there after the Dutch. Originally.
They did.
It was Amsterdam.
New Amsterdam was what it was called before it was New York.
So they're Indian.
The Dutch discovered New York, right?
And so they saw it and they're like,
Good. So
He's like looking into the future.
he's looking deep into the past.
Past, I mean, obviously.
So these Dutch sailors, Braden, to George's point, I think she's dead on. When they rolled up, what would they have seen? The very first Dutch sailors, what would they have encountered?
Green trees and islands.
And nothing else. Sorry, Native Americans, but nothing else, right? Ion, you probably should close your laptop. You should close your laptop. Thank you, sir. All right.
You told me to look. I was
Ion, help me out. Come move up here for me, sir. I do appreciate it. All right. Where were we? Oh, so the Dutch sailors roll up. It's all trees. So what? What's so interesting about that?
Fresh start.
Yeah. Like, if you're one of those sailors and you're going to land on this island, what's available to you? Absolutely anything. Yeah. And he says as much. Like, the rest of this paragraph, it's vanished trees, the trees that made way for Gatsby's house, had once pandered in whispers to the last and greatest of all human dreams. For a transitory, you guys know what transitory means? Very quick. Very, 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 very quick. For a quick, enchanted moment, man must have held his breath in the presence of this continent, compelled into a contemplation he neither understood nor desired, face to face for the last time in history with something commensurate to his capacity for wonder. Commensurate is just a fancy word, basically means equal or similar to. Okay? So he's saying when they roll up and see all these trees, and as you guys rightly pointed out, like, you kind of cover yourself in jello and like run around. You do whatever you want. I'm being an idiot, but like, anything you want to do, if that's what you want to do, you can do it, right? But he describes this as these people were face to face for the last time in history with something equal to their capacity for wonder. What does capacity mean, do you guys think? Good. Yes, how much you can hold. So how much wonder you can hold What on earth could that mean?
I mean, it's like as much. Like he's basically saying it's like that's the most you could ever look at something. And
What is wonder though? What is that even?
think of what like you can do.
Well, true wonder, like it's the root of wonderful, yeah, is like amazement, is something incredible type of a thing. So he is saying, for the last time in history, these Dutch sailors, when they roll up, would have seen nothing but those trees, and that would have been the last time anybody felt as much, like the full length capacity of wonder that a person can possibly feel. Why do you think that is?
It's probably like the last.
Well, it never happened again because then they went and inhabited that land.
Good. So like even if you're the second or third group of Dutch sailors, what do you see when you roll up?
You see these old Dutch sailors.
And then maybe, I mean, I'm sure it's, but like, hey man, that's a dock. This is where you go to get whatever. You could sleep over there, right? Like it's inhabited now. And what comes with that inhabitation, by the way? Habitation. I don't know why I did that. Once people start settling and other people come in, what kinds of other things occur? Good. Laws even, right? Yeah. Hey man, you sleep over here. You can't do absolutely anything you want, by the way. But you can do a lot of things, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, make sure to pay your taxes here and do this and this and this. Yeah. And pretty soon, like that just balloons out, right? And it gets more and more defined. So Nick's point in this first paragraph, he thinks he can see the island for a second as they would have. And he tries to appreciate what they would have felt. And he feels like if this is where it occurred, like on a timeline, from there, you could argue, would we call it freedom? Like, would it like agency, control over yourself, do whatever you want? It's just kind of been going down until it gets to where Nick is on the timeline, right? How does that manifest in the novel? Do you guys feel like there's any place where we might think about people being able to do what they want with their lives? We talk about that ever? Daisy. What'd you say, Gavin? Well, that's a lot to do with it. I don't mind jumping to that. Yeah, what's up? What happened? Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, sir. Gavin, what about the American dream?
Well, I mean, you were talking about the way that people can do whatever they want.
Well, what's it take, though? You don't just show up and we let you do whatever you want. What do you got to do for the American dream? You work hard. You put the time in, and you can make something of yourself, and then you can get the thing, right? It's kind of how we talk about it. Good. I appreciate it. And I think, like, in that context, that's what those Dutch sailors had, even though, quite technically, I don't know that it was called America at that point yet. I don't know exactly when that occurred. But yeah, they get that. And they're the last people who really got it. Everybody else has had, like, some diluted version of that up to Nick's point. Yeah. Okay. So now he's going to say this in the next paragraph. He's brooding on the old unknown world. He thinks about Gatsby's wonder when he first picked out the green light at the end of Daisy's dock. What does Gatsby's wonder have to do with Daisy's dock, do you think? If it helps, I think it's a couple lines under that. He says, his dream must have seemed so close he could hardly fail to grasp it. She's right there, dude. Yeah, go ahead, Clint.
I was saying they have to reunite Daisy.
That's his dream, right?
Yeah, that was
And he's worked.
First, but that was his whole first feature, was just that. So.
He did the thing. He followed the playbook. He did it. How close was he by the end? How close was he? Dude, he's so there. She's like sitting next to him playing with his hair and stuff. Like he's there. What happens?
It all comes apart and he gets shot.
Well, because he realizes that it's like she wasn't like actually everything.
It wasn't all that it was.
Oh, no. So two things happen. Yes, there's the first part that we talked about maybe earlier this week. How maybe she doesn't quite measure up to that dream, which is an interesting side to this conversation that I haven't entertained in the other classes. But like within the context of this last page, that's pretty interesting. I don't think Nick thinks the Dutch sailors look out and see the trees and they're like, I mean, these trees aren't that great, right? I mean, they're cool trees, but you know what I mean? So that's interesting. But setting that aside for a moment, that is actually, honest to God, like pretty cool. Setting that aside for a moment, what's the other part of it? This is Elaine's part. He loses it right at the finish line, basically. How does he lose it? What happens?
He breaks his leg on the end line.
He does. Well, somebody comes out and breaks his leg.
Oh, Myrtle's husband.
Tom does it.
Oh, yeah.
No, Myrtle's husband ends the story.
Ended before that.
Good. Tom has him investigated, finds out what about him. Yeah. And Daisy draws back from him as soon as he says that.
But it's funny because I don't think he thought any less of Daisy after that. Like, I'm sure
No.
he was kind of hurt, but like he still stayed outside her house in her bushes wanting to talk to her.
Yeah. I mean, if you're Gatsby, we could talk about this for a second because it could help us actually. How would you describe him in that last scene where we actually see him? He's standing outside Tom and Daisy's house.
I describe him as desperate.
Desperate. There's one other D word I was looking for.
Damaged.
Despair.
No, dude. He thinks, like, listen, what is he doing? He's going to stand out there. Huh? That was the word. That was the word. It's delusional. It's delusional. What is he doing? Everything that just happened, where Daisy basically was like, you do what? And like kind of, and Tom was like, great, you guys talk it out. I'm going to go home. Catch you at home later, wife. All that happens. Daisy goes home to where she lives with Tom. And he's like, all right, so she's going to lock herself up and I'm going to make sure no rough stuff happens, you know. Nick walks up and what are Tom and Daisy doing?
Holding hands.
And conspiring. So Gatsby is so delusional. He still thinks it could work. He doesn't realize it's over. Yeah. What might... I'm trying to... It is kind of a bummer. But like... Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
What does that say about how wonder works for Gatsby? This dream. They're kind of interchangeable here. Yeah.
It's like never over.
Yeah.
Never like willing to
He's
give it up.
chasing it the whole time.
You never admit defeat. And again, to his credit, he could have done that at any point and it would have made all the sense in the world. When we get his backstory, starting how he started, to get where he gets to by the end before everything falls apart, you're like, dude is absolutely right, actually. This is all completely possible. It could happen. You could do it. Is it likely? No. But is it possible? Yes. Gatsby does it. But then it doesn't. What tears him down, in your opinion? I know it's Tom, and I know it's Tom's investigation, but like, why does the information Tom provides, why does that dismantle Gatsby's dream, do you think?
Well, he low-key cheated. Because like bootlegging, it's illegal. And it could be considered not hard work. Because
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's not like Tom works hard.
No.
Like, how...
Tom also
Tom just gets everything he wants.
that and he kind of like literally cheated and still got Daisy.
True. Well, so here's what's interesting. Like, I like this idea of cheating, although we got to be careful we don't equivocate because Tom like cheats in a totally different way, right?
Yeah.
There's a set of rules. There's a set of rules you have to operate by. And we've talked before about how Gatsby is trying his best to operate according to them, but he doesn't know all of them.
Yeah.
Daisy picks up on that. That's a red flag in her book. But Daisy knows the rules. Tom knows the rules. Nick knows the rules. All these things. Tom uses those against him, to put it how you put it, points out that Gatsby basically cheated. Look, you can be born with money. That's fine. That's in the rules. That's cool. What you can't do is this other thing. That's illegal and not respected and all that other stuff, right? And as soon as Tom says that and Gatsby doesn't have a great defense, Daisy's out. Daisy's out on him. So what tears him down isn't even Tom. It's what Tom wields, which is this social machinery, all these rules and expectations.
And then Daisy left her.
Yeah.
So I think that's what she did.
Because she can't go against that. She can't bring herself to do it. The other thing I would say, and now I don't. What time is it? Anybody know? None of you have your phones. Hang on.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Only because normally I check my phone, but okay. Where were we? Oh. So I want to get through all of it, but I'm trying to. There's so much that's brought to bear in this last page. If you recall at the beginning of the novel, Nick says the only person who comes out well in the story is Gatsby. So not even Daisy, and we talked previously about how she's part of Tom's world now, and he's disgusted with her. But for most of the book, that's not the case. I think it's right here at the end where he can't forgive her. You let him know. He can't forgive. What does Daisy almost do? Right at the end. Right before Tom pulls her back, what is she pretty close to doing?
Leaving Tom and Gatsby.
And what is that? If she had done that, and doing what instead?
Following
Her dream. That's her dream. She's wanted him this whole time. She almost calls the wedding off, right? She wants Gatsby, but everything in her world tells her no for all these reasons that we've talked about. And she almost does it. But Tom pulls her back from the brink, and now she's one of them. Now she's in that same world that, well, we've talked about. Does anyone remember, like, how do these people live? How does their life work? Especially in Daisy's case. We talked about Daisy specifically.
Because she did nothing.
Yeah, it offers nothing. Like, it's one of those, maybe it'd be a fun weekend. She lives a vacation. But a vacation gets old. Eventually you want to go home. You want to do things. She has no... Even Tom, like, every time you see him, he's just, like, riding a horse or something. Like, he's not doing anything. And that's just their life. There's no motion to it. There's no activity. Gatsby's always busy. He's always got something going on, even though it's certainly illegal. But, like, it's interesting. And it offers possibility, opportunity, right? That is not available within the system. Okay. Let me see. We got to make sure we get to the end, so let's do it. So what Gatsby does not realize here, it says he did not know, toward the bottom of the page. He did not know that his dream was already behind him, somewhere back in that vast obscurity beyond the city where the dark fields of the Republic rolled on under the night. So it's back in his past, but it also sounds like geographically it's behind him, which if you guys want to try to jump in that rabbit hole, we can. Regardless, Gatsby believed in the green light, the orgiastic future that year by year recedes before us. So the future recedes before him. What does that mean? Recede means to pull back, right? So how is the future receding before you? I thought that was an easy question. You don't have to overthink this one.
Going back to the past.
Because, like, it's the future, but it's pulling back. Some kind of...
Well, there is a thing here at the end about how we keep looking to the past. That's true. But also the future is the promise. The future is the dream.
So it keeps moving a little.
Yeah. And look, it's no accident. It seems like nothing at the time. But I try to highlight it. I hope I did with you guys. I know I did with some of the classes. Early in the book. Does anybody remember how we first meet Gatsby?
He bumps into him at the
Yeah.
party.
Nah, before that. You see him before that.
Out the window of the house.
He was like getting out of his car.
He's in his yard at night. Nobody remembers what he's doing?
Was he on the dock looking out the light?
He's looking out the light, and he's reaching for it, which is kind of ridiculous. But I say that as a person in the system. I say that as a person who doesn't dream like Gatsby does, right? For Gatsby, it's not ridiculous. He could reach far enough, he could grab it. He could do it, he believes, right? Daisy gives up on that. Anyway, that's the future receding before us.
Gatsby find out that Nick is friends with Daisy.
He's been asking people about Daisy. We get it in that party scene. And then somebody tells him that, like, Jordan knows her, I think. So then he talks to Jordan. Yeah, tells him that Nick is her cousin. And he's like, awesome. And
Also, Nick's right.
yeah,
The cousin.
we're going to be best friends. It actually calls their friendship into a lot of doubt because
It's like, that's the only reason.
But I don't know, they seemed like pretty...
Gatsby seems like a good dude, but it's a little...
I think that how a friendship doesn't really matter as much.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so the last bit. So the green light, the future that recedes before us, it eluded us then, but that's no matter. Tomorrow we will run faster, stretch out our arms further, and one fine morning. Nick cuts himself off here. What is he saying in this part?
You die.
No. It,
Doesn't really happen.
hang on, it eluded us then. What is it here?
Light.
And the future and the dream, all that, everything that represents. Yes. It eluded us then. We didn't get it that time, but that's no matter. Tomorrow we will run faster, stretch out our arms further, and one fine morning, what? We'll get it. We'll get it.
But you won't.
But that's
Well, he doesn't allow himself to say it either, which is interesting. Do you guys have thoughts about that? Why he doesn't allow himself to say it? Maybe.
It's kind of like you'll keep always going but never actually happen.
Maybe. I almost wonder if having to say it, I mean, one, I agree, I don't think he can say it. Why? Why can't Nick say it?
He doesn't really know.
Because I don't think he believes it.
yeah.
He saw it almost happen, but yeah.
It did.
But if you go to say it and you can't, I suppose you'd have to say the inverse. I think the point is like he can't be definite here because his only clear answer is the one that he doesn't want to admit. Gatsby allowed him to not admit how stuck everybody is. So anyway, so we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. If you're a boat against the current, that's pretty easy. What's going on? Yeah, you're fighting though. You're fighting. He says you don't stop. He says you keep going. It's I think it's as hopeful as a book like this can be, as a character like this can be at the end of all this. He wants so badly for Gatsby's philosophy, worldview, whatever, to be possible. He's trying real hard at the end to keep it alive after Gatsby. And he seems to be struggling, actually. But he's trying. But all of that, I mean, how do you read that at the end? What is Gatsby, finally? His worldview. What is that?
Wait, could you read the question?
How would you describe Gatsby's worldview?
Optimism.
Yeah.
Certainly. Think positive. Yeah? A little stronger than that?
Like a goal.
Delusional.
Yeah.
We might say delusional, right? Nick might fight us really hard, but he might admit secretly delusional, right? Why is it delusional? Why do we say that? Why isn't it possible to do whatever you want? Go out there and make it happen.
Well, we see that it's not possible.
I mean, this one time it could work out, right? Tends to not, but there's outliers, man. LeBron James exists, right? His life seems pretty great, doesn't it?
You don't really know that. You don't know.
That's true. That's true. Also, LeBron James, how tall is he? 6'9", and like probably in his youth at least ran a 4.4 at like 260 or whatever he is. I mean, he was born with a certain advantage, right? Kind of like Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, the point is, I think Nick's right about the world, and I think Nick, it's not just the machinery. We're so plugged into it that we view the world that way, even now. Like it goes beyond the book. We're right there with Nick. We would admit the same thing, that Gatsby is ridiculous. But what makes Gatsby so beautiful to Nick is that he would never admit that. And he would fight it to the death, actually. Right? Gatsby remind you of anybody, guys? Anybody we've read or talked about? That kind of capacity for wonder, right? That he compares to the Dutch settlers.
Women.
Why do you say that?
Yeah. Everything's wonderful.
And imagine if we had a shadow, somebody come in today, and they had that opinion. Do you think they would get along well with everybody? Why not? That sounds lovely. Thanks, man. You made me feel better about everything. Why would? So you're saying people might make fun of this kid or challenge him on his worldview? Maybe. Yeah. We can't even stomach a dude who's just like psyched to be here. Right? Isn't that something? It does. It does suck. I agree with you. I think Whitman is very good for this. And granted, he's like unit 5?
Yeah.
Something like that. But is there anybody, I mean, I don't know why I'm asking these questions. Is there anybody you could maybe on the way between Fitzgerald and Whitman? Is there anybody maybe with this particular theme? There are other options, by the way. But anybody who talks even a little bit like Whitman does about anything.
In between Frost.
It'd have to be Frost or Chopin, right?
But I feel like Frost.
Where at?
I feel like
Frankie's
Frost
a
is
unit
better.
two.
But here's one thing
Hmm?
that goes with that is the like it can't class.
What poem are you thinking about?
The
Yeah.
one about like, oh, we're gonna go and we're gonna stop in the like woods and look at all the snow.
Stopping by woods on a snowy evening.
Yeah.
Good.
Everything sounds like nice, and then it's like, nope, I've got stuff I gotta go do.
Good. So he has it, but it's very, Gatsby has it for, yeah, well, at least for 5 years. At least for 5 years. Which is that's a good run. Yeah. So how I would put it to you, because this is how Nick puts it, Gatsby is an outlier. Gatsby's not like anybody else. And he doesn't fit in the world he lives in. And it's almost like maybe he has to die by the end because he can't live in that world forever. Frost would agree. Whitman would have thoughts about it, but Whitman is like 70, 80 years previous, something like that. And that's how that is only one example, but that is how you begin to work your way back. You see what I'm saying? That's how you can do this.